Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm hoping to make 2 videos about housing because I get so many questions about housing based off of my temporary accommodation video about getting a house. So I'm hopefully going to help you to get social housing, kind of. I'm going to go through how to register for housing, just in general, and then also how to make a homelessness application if that's what you need to do, because especially at the moment with COVID, I know a lot of people are getting evictions or people are getting section 21s and they're worried about what to do. So that'll be the next video. Today's video I just want to talk to you about the housing register in general and the banding systems and how that all works, because I think a lot of people don't really understand it, especially if you are maybe new to the UK, or maybe your area is a little bit different, or this is one I hear all the time. My friend told me, or somebody told me that this is how it works. The first thing I want you to do is actually to go onto your local authority's website and look for their housing application policy, because that's what I'm going to be referencing today, is my housing application policy, but they vary slightly from council to council, just because they just do, like, the main rules are normally the same, but that comes from central government, and then the councils or local authorities tend to tweak them slightly to suit that area. So yeah, I'm just going to use mine as like a reference point today. So go onto your local authority's website and check that out to see what you need to do to qualify, if you're eligible, how to submit your documents. Most local authorities, you just apply online, and normally anybody can really apply. Like, there's a lot of myths out there that only certain people can apply. You can apply, doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you can apply. So you go onto your, you have to be 18. Normally you have to live in the borough for a certain amount of time. It's gone up quite a lot recently to normally 5 years in most boroughs. Some places are 3, and some places don't have that. So you can just apply if you've lived in the borough for maybe a year or so. You can just apply. So you'll go onto your website, you apply online, you'll submit documents like normal things like passports, birth certificates for everybody that will be living with you, any other special information that the council may need to know. And then they will decide if you're eligible for housing and what band you'll be put into. They also may do a home visit. They used to do this quite a lot. This was very common practice before COVID, but I don't know how it might be now. They may have stopped doing that, but they would normally just come around to check that everything is as it's stated in your application. So if you say that you're sleeping in the living room, you and your husband, and you've got 3 kids, they come round to check that. They come round to check the space that you're living in. So yeah, after they've done all that and they've checked your documents, they see like how many children you have, or if you have any children, if you have any medical needs, any priority. They go for all those things, and then they will place you in a band. So the band system is to determine your level of need. Most places it's either A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all basically the same thing. A is normally the highest, or 1 is the highest, and people in the top band get first pick for housing. So what they do, like I said, is bands 1, 2, 3, 4. So every week they'll be on their website. It will be like, let's say it's Bromley Council. It will be Bromley Council's choice-based letting website. They'll give you the little address for that specific thing. You get a login. You'll log in, and you'll see a list of houses, and that will be the properties that is available that week. And you can place a bid, which is just basically you saying that, yes, I would be interested in living in that property. There's normally a brief description of the property. It will say like it's 2 bedrooms, it's on the 2nd floor, there's no lift, it's got central heating, it costs this much, and that's pretty much all you get. You get like a picture of the front of the property, but you don't get to see inside of the property until if you are actually chosen to go and do that. So what they do is then, if you, let's say I say, oh, I would like to live at 123 Cupcake Drive, I place my bid, and it will show me what queue position I am. So it will show me how many people are in front of me. So that's not based on the time that those people place the bid. It's just based on if they are in, like, you know, what band they're in. So if I'm, let's say I'm in band 3 and I bid, but then a bunch of people in band 1, being the highest band, bid in also, they will then be in front of me because they have been determined as having a greater need than I do. So maybe I'll go through the bands with you in a minute, just show you some sort of things that they look for when they're trying to decide what band to put you in. They're very, very specific, the council. So if you are in a certain band, normally that's where you're supposed to be. But I will say read through the policies and procedures just to make sure, because they might have missed something, or maybe you missed something when you was applying. Maybe you thought, you didn't think to submit a certain piece of documentation, and now you're in a lower band and you're thinking, well, you know, we really in need of this, and they don't know that. So you may have put yourself by accident in the wrong band. That's why I say it's really important to read all the information that is available out there, so that rather than you're hearing bits from this friend, you're hearing bits from that friend, people are giving you like the wrong information. So yeah, so what was I saying? The bands. So yeah, if somebody is in band 3 and someone in band 1 bids, they're going to be above you. Now if 2 people in band 1 bid for the same property, it's then going to go on the date. So who became in that band first? So if like Jane came into the band on the 2nd of September in 2021, but you know, John, he got put into band 1 in April, he's going to be in front of her. So you see how it works. It has nothing to do with the time that you bid, because I know I was watching this show once and people was like going online at midnight trying to be the first one. It doesn't matter if you're in the top bands, like if you're in band 1 or 2 and you bid on the last day of bidding, like it's just about to close, and there's a whole bunch of people in band 3, you're still going to be in front of them because you are determined to have a greater need. Some boroughs do different things. Like my borough, they have this sort of priority system, so you can get extra points. So it doesn't affect your band. Well, it does kind of affect your band, but it doesn't make you go into a higher band, is what I mean. So they have these extra points that you can get, like if you're a working household, if you're a homeless household, I think if you volunteer, you can get this. You have to be doing it for a certain amount of time and all that kind of stuff. There are criteria, but if you meet that criteria, you get like an extra point. So what that means, again, it changes again. So if I'm in band 3 and, you know, again, let's say Jane's also in band 3. She's been in band 3 longer than I have, but I have an extra point because I work, and which I do. I work, so, and she doesn't work. I am then able to go in front of her in the band. It's really weird. It can be very complicated. That's why I say please check your housing allocator. I'm just going off mine. This is just some of the things that you can come up against. I'm not sure if all places do that. They may or may not, so just check. Bands. And let's talk about bands. Sorry, I hope my hands are not distracting you. This, I'm just looking at my phone. Yes, I'm double vaccinated. I'm just going to run through the bands with you to show you, well, to explain to you the type of things they're looking for when they're determining which band you go in. So band 1 is the highest. It's really hard, I have to say, to get into this band. Well, in my borough anyway, it's really hard to get into band 1. Types of things that will put you in band 1 is like if you are already a council tenant and you need to leave your property in the next 6 weeks because major works need to be done. This does happen. This is normally, we've got a case like this at the moment in our borough. There's a flat and it's been determined as unsafe, like for fire safety reasons. So they're having to move the existing tenants out. So now they have to move out pretty quickly because it's kind of like a, it's a bit like Grenfield. It's very unsafe at the moment. They don't want that to happen again. So they're like, look, we need to move these tenants out really fast. So they've given them the highest band. They're already council tenants and they need to move. Cases also like Grenfield would be a band 1 priority. So for example, your house has been demolished. It was no fault of your own. There was a fire, there was a flood. They would normally be in band 1 because they desperately need to move. Other applicants that go into band 1 are applicants that are, again, already in council properties, but their house is under occupied. So maybe these are people, they were living in a house, they had a whole family living there, the kids are grown up, they've moved out, and it's just like maybe 2 grown adults in a 3-bedroom house. Like they say, look, if you downsize, they normally give them incentives to move, so they will try and offer them money or like they said, they give them band 1 priority, which means you can pretty much move into any property pretty quickly. Band 1, let me just look at the top, sorry, it was showing me the wait times for band 1. It's normally within like 2 months that band 1 applicants move. In my borough, it's different everywhere. Other applicants that are in band 1 are people that are overcrowded, but this is a very tricky one. This is legally overcrowded. There's a certain definition in the Housing Act of 1985, which I'm not going to bore you with and read to you, but it is very specific. It's based on the sizes of the rooms, and I only know one person that's moved based on that, because the landlord had basically kind of missold the property to them. Not sold it to them, they was renting it, but it was very, very small and very, very tight, and they was just like, something funny about this. And then the council got involved and determined that it was legally too small to be what it was. It was meant to be a 2-bedroom property, and it was like the size of a studio. It was just been divided up, like the walls had been divided up, and they had to move. They got classes legally overcrowded. It can't be done by a deliberate act. So I'll get to that later. What else? Applicants who can't leave the hospital because their accommodation is not specially adapted. Yep, and also people that have left the armed forces. So those are the people that get placed in band 1. Band 2, again, it can be quite tricky. Applicants who have severe medical priority, that one, you need a lot of documentation from doctors to say how severe, because they do also in band 3 have medical need. So if you have a medical need, like say for example you have a child with autism, it's very tricky because they used to class it as band 2 with my borough, and then they dropped it to band 3 because it comes under medical need. It's not classed as severe. I guess severe would be illness where, you know, it's like maybe you've got a cancer or a very debilitating illness, like a child that has to be on a ventilator and things like that. This would be more severe. Applicants who need to move as decided by a social welfare panel, I can only speculate that that means possibly children with certain issues, people that are facing domestic violence issues that desperately need to move. They would come under that, and that's normally like a panel of people at the council who sit there, go through the case, read all the evidence and decide whether they should be in band 2. Applicants who lack one or all of these essential facilities: hot water, heating, a kitchen, internal toilet and a bathroom. I guess that has to be, there's probably a time restriction on that, because, like, you know, sometimes the hot water goes out. And I remember in the hostel, when I was living in the homeless hostel, it used to go out quite a lot for long periods of time. Like, I mean, a week or so is long when you have children. You need to clean yourself, you need to wash, you need to cook food. But you take things for granted, but that never bumped us up the queue at all. Private sector tenants who are required to vacate their home as a result of enforcement by the local authority. That can happen. I've seen that on TV shows where tenants have been having major issues with the landlord. The landlord may have gone in and turned off the gas or the electricity, or they've got, you know, they go in, the enforcement agency, they've come around to check the property and they find all sort of illegal electrics and wiring, you know, stuff like electrics hanging over the bath and stuff like that. They're like, no, we need to shut this down. And then, but they need to put the tenants that are living there somewhere. So that would be a band 2 move. I'm surprised actually that wouldn't be a band 1 move. What's this? Care leavers are granted band 2 priority and permitted to bid for studio flats only. So I guess that would be young people that are just coming out of care, maybe foster homes and care homes and things like that. So as I said, these criteria, they're not very flexible. There's, so far, if you notice, I haven't come across homeless families yet. So you're probably thinking, oh my god, that would be a top priority. In my borough, it's not. Once they basically house you, put you somewhere, I won't say they forget about you, but it kind of feels like that way. They're kind of less worried about you because you're housed. You've got a roof over your head. Might not be a nice roof, but you're not sleeping in a cardboard box or in your car or anything like that. So once they've done that, they kind of go, right, now you can sit and wait. Hence why we've been here for so long. What else have we got on here? people that need the house adapting, you know, council tenants or housing association tenants. So that doesn't apply to people in the private sector. If you're private renting, you're kind of just expected to, if your house needs adapting or something, you've got to just move to a house that is more suitable. So if you now need a flat that's on the ground floor because of medical reasons, move to a flat on the ground floor. Serious threats to the well-being of a child and their accommodation is a contributing factor to the risk. Confirmed by council's children's services. I can't think of a case. I can assume what they would mean, but I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna. So that's pretty much banned. So let's just have a look. It's going on and on. Oh, applicants who cannot be expected to find their own accommodation, such as young adults with learning difficulties, who wish to leave the family home so they can live independently. I've seen that quite a few times. One of my old school friends had a sister who was deaf, and she was sort of moved into assisted living. I also have a nephew with autism. He's quite high functioning, but I can see him living in a sort of assisted living facility. But they don't always put people in assisted living. I was watching a show called How to Get a Council House, and this young boy with it was a young man because he was over 18. He had cerebral palsy, and he was moved into just a flat by himself, and then adult social services had to step in and say, we don't think this is appropriate for him, he needs support. So sometimes it will be a flat on their own. Ideally it will be supported, so like they have a flat, it's like a flat within a building where there's like a worker downstairs and somebody that can assist them if there's any problems, but they have their own individual space. Band 3, so let's go on to band 3, the type of people that will be placed into band 3. Those who are homeless and the council have a statutory duty to accommodate under Part 7 of the Housing Act of 1996. So we finally get to homeless applicants. So when you do make a homeless application and you go through all the process, I'll talk about that in the other video, you'll be placed into a band. Hopefully in your borough it will be band 2, just because as I explained before, if it or band B, because A, B, C, D, band A or band 1 will be the highest, and you know it goes down. Not to say that band 3 doesn't get a house, but as you can imagine, the wait time is longer, and choice, you really have to be realistic in the type of property that you are placing an interest, or we call it a bid for, because if you're in band 3 and you can already see, it tells you how many people, like I said, are in front of you. If you can see that there are 98 people in front of you for the house in the really nice area with the big garden and on the ground floor and stuff like that, you're not going to get it. I'll explain why in a minute, but you're not going to get it. If it was maybe in a poorer area, you're still going to be number maybe 15. You're not going to get it, most likely. If you are bidding for a flat on the 2nd floor with no elevator in an okay-ish area and you're number 2, you might get it. Or you'll be number 1 because, like I said, no elevator and things like that. So you really need to adapt your choices when you're bidding. You need to think about what you need and not what you want when you're bidding, because there's not many flats. And if I show you this application, it tells me that there's like 15,000 people on the waiting list, all waiting to be rehoused. That's people that are homeless and people that are already in council accommodation, or they're in private accommodation and they're waiting to go into. There's a lot of people waiting. Okay, sorry, I waffled on a bit there. Also, other people that are in band 3 will be people that are overcrowded but not statutorily overcrowded as determined by Part 10 of the Housing Act of 1985. That's normally people that are living in council properties already. Maybe when they moved in they had 1 child and it was a 2-bedroom flat. Now they've got 3 children in a 2-bedroom flat. They're overcrowded, but they're not legally overcrowded. They might have all 3 boys and then they're definitely not overcrowded. Or they might have 2 boys and a girl, then they'll be overcrowded and they have some need, but then that also changes depending on the children's ages. If you have let me think about how it goes. If you have a boy and a girl, but the both under the age of 10, they can share a room according to the laws in the UK. If they are a boy and a girl, one of them is 10 or above, or you know, they are overcrowded, they're not supposed to share a room. But just because they're not supposed to, you're not going to get like a flat on that child's 10th birthday, like, oh, they're 10 now, they can't share a room. No, I've seen people still sharing a room when the, you know, the boy is 16 and the little girl is 5, and they've been sharing a room all this time because there is just nowhere to go. If they're same sex, they are not classed as overcrowded until the oldest child is 16. Then they, you know, they say, oh well, then they can have their own separate room. But by that time, I don't know, it's probably pointless, because you're going to go onto the housing list to get moved again. It might take you 2-3 years to get moved. By that time that child's 18 and probably hopefully gone off to university. So who else is, oh, and also in band 3 for my borough is applicants who have moderate health related issues where there is a clear objective to move. Like I said, maybe a child with autism, it would be nice for them to move, to have a place with a garden and more space, but it's not always realistic. Like, the council just doesn't have what they don't have. But they will put you in the band and hope that if you bid, you should get a place. Band 4. Band 4 is for applicants who are homeless, but whom the council does not have a duty to house under Part 7 of the Housing Act of 1992. For example, they may be intentionally homeless. I will talk about intentionally homeless and what that is in my next video. And then it says all other applicants. So let's say you applied, you don't have a housing, well, you do have a housing need. Let's say you're living at home with your mum and dad, you're 18, 19 years old, you really want to move out, you've got yourself a nice little job, you're thinking about saving up for a car, and the next thing you're thinking is, I would like a flat. You can apply. You're most likely going to be put in band 4, because as I just explained to you all those bands, you need to meet one of those to be placed somewhere. So if you're like, well, I'm overcrowded, but it's my room, my little brother lives down the hall, he shares with, but I've got my own space. So you're not going to be listed as overcrowded. You're not a vulnerable adult. You don't have any health issues or mental health issues. You're not pregnant. You're not going to be on the council's must urgently move list, but you can be placed in band 4. You're most likely never going to get housed when you're in band 4. I'm just going to be realistic with you. I don't even know why it's there anymore, because occasionally you'll hear a story about someone in band 4 getting a property, but it's like gold dust. It would just be a whim. Like, maybe it's a flat that absolutely, that's normally what it is. If it's a house that nobody wants, are you sure that you want it? It's going to be a house that nobody wants if you're in band 4. Or maybe they've kept a select few aside for band 4 applicants just so they can feel like they have a chance, because most of the time they don't. You need to be in at least 1, 2 or 3 to stand a chance to get housed. Band 3 most likely is going to take you some time, so sit tight and you're going to just wait. Band 2 is normally within a year or 2, I believe they say, and band 1 being like the highest, it's normally within 2 months, but it varies from council to council. So please, if you're like in band 1 and you're like, I've been bidding for 3 months, I don't have a house, don't blame me. Like, they just don't have the stock. This is a big problem. They're not building more houses, so there is a short supply. Sorry, I sound winded because I'm talking really fast, because I don't want this video to be super duper long. So yeah, what else was I going to say about bands? So once you let's say you're in band whatever, you've bidded for a property and your queue position is in the top, it's not really top 3, but I'm going to say top 5, just because what normally happens, so let's say at the close of bidding you're not number 1, you're number 3. What then happens is it's not automatically going to be the person in the first position, in position 1, because what they're going to do now is they're going to check to see that that person is current on their rent, they don't have any outstanding council tax, there's nothing stopping them, like you know, debt wise, for why they shouldn't be housed. They need to make sure that they have all their paperwork and everything is still as is, so their current circumstances are the same as when they applied. There's no changes. They also may refuse the property. So normally what they used to do, I don't think they're doing this at the moment because of COVID, they're inviting people one at a time. So normally just the first person, if they don't want it, then they'll go down to the second, third, and so on and so on. So they used to invite 3 people to come and view the property. So they would get applicant number 1, applicant number 2, applicant number 3. The first applicant has first right of refusal. So you go there, you're number 1, you get to look around, you get to see it and go, living room's a bit small, like the bedroom sizes. I'm not so keen on the area. So applicant number 1, you say, no, I don't want it. Then it goes on to applicant number 2. They say, look, have a look around. What do you think? Do you like it? Applicant number 2, same thing. If they accept it, it's theirs and they sign for it there and then you go to the office and you know, sort out more paperwork and get keys and all that stuff. It's really, really quick, so you need to be prepared if you are in the top positions, because the move is really, really fast. It's normally within a week they want you out, because they don't want you to have 2 tenancies. They don't want any like council, like housing related debt. So they don't want you to have, like, you're paying for one place and you're paying for another place. Maybe you're putting in an application for housing benefit, and now you've got 2 applications. It's just too complicated, so that's why it's so fast. Also with if you're just a normal housing applicant, you get normally 3 refusals before they say to you, look, you're going to be placed in band 4 if you refuse the next property. So, well, I guess it's 2. So if you go 1 and you like, don't like that one, then you go to another bidding and you don't like that one, and then the last one is like, listen, you need to take this one, because they don't have so many houses. And what they found in the past is that people became really fussy when they knew they was in a top band. They was like just going for viewings for the fun of it, like, oh look, I'm gonna go and view this one, oh I don't really like that one, oh I viewed 7 and I haven't picked a house yet. The way the council see it is social housing, you don't have the right to be that fussy. So yeah, they reduced it down to 3. So I'm just gonna move my leg, it's going dead. Yeah, so that's how it works. And then once you get in the top, like I said, it's probably top 5, I would say, because of just the, like, also another reason why I say top 5, then you should be really aware, because like I said, people refuse. Housing debts may stop a person from being able to even go view the property. Also, there's another thing that I don't think a lot of people know about, which is a computer generated bids. So for some people that can't bid for themselves, what the council do is they put their details into the computer, and the computer, based on what the, you know, that housing officer has put in, will generate a bid for them based on their need. But it doesn't always suit. So it might be Mr. Johnson, he's really old, he needs a flat on the ground floor, and the computer has bid for him, but this property has 3 steps outside and the man cannot manage the 3 steps. Then that housing officer will actually look at the property that has been bidded for that tenant or potential tenant and see if it's suitable for their needs, and if it's not, they'll just take them off the list. That's why I say if you're in the top 5, be prepared, because there's a lot of things that can debunk the person that's above you. Housing debts, computer generated bids, just refusal, outright refusal. One of my friends got a really, really nice property because she was number 2. She really was not hopeful. She went to the property to view it. The person in front of her was like, don't like it. She was yes, our flat is gorgeous. But yeah, and so just be prepared, and be prepared financially too, because you'll have to pay the first week's rent up front. Social housing is normally not loads of money, but it's still a lot of money for some people. And moving costs, moving is expensive, so be prepared for that. And that's mostly it when it comes to the housing register. I hope that explained it somewhat. I hope I didn't waffle on too much with stories and little anecdotes all over the place, but I'm hoping that you got the gist of it. So the gist of it is, check your housing application policies, procedures, see if you're eligible to apply. Then once you apply, you'll be pay-laced into bands based on your need at the time of applying. And if your circumstances do change, update the council and let them know, because it may put you in a higher ranking. And that's all the bands do, they just rank you in order of need, and then it goes into date. So whoever's in that band first goes above on the list, and you will be able to see it each week on the bidding cycle. On the bidding cycle, which is where they list all the houses and stuff on the website, there's not a lot of houses, so don't be like, yeah, I'm gonna look, and they're expecting hundreds of houses. Normally, you're lucky on my council if there's 10 a week, you know, and there's like a long list of people waiting, or people trying to remove because their household has changed. So just be prepared to wait. Everybody's circumstances are different to yours. You might get housed faster, you might not get housed as fast, you might be waiting a while. Don't get disheartened, just trust the process and sit tight. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I know I waffled. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one about homelessness applications.